Hey guys, Level Cap here, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare is landing this week on all platforms. The launch of the game will be on Friday for most places around the world, and Thursday evening for those of you who live in North America, 6 p.m. Pacific time to be exact. Right now is the calm before the storm. If you are interested in playing this new Call of Duty game, then chances are you were able to get into one of the beta tests to try it out. Overall, the beta feedback seemed to be quite positive, although the game without question is shaking up the standard COD formula or even being seen as returning to the basics, which some fans of the franchise might not enjoy quite as much. A faster time to kill, the abolishment of a class system, the introduction of large format game modes with vehicles, and many other changes. This game also appears to be making a significant attempt to appeal more to the Battlefield audience or gamers who want something that feels a little bit more realistic than what Call of Duty generally offers. The ability to gently open doors to throw a grenade inside of a room, climbing ladders with a sidearm ready to shoot, and a robust weapon customization bench that allows for many realistic gun configurations. Not to mention maps that feel much more grounded in present-day realistic theaters of war. There's a lot to like about this new Call of Duty game if you like military shooters. Without question, this game has my attention, and I'm very curious to see what has changed for the launch. The beta gave me a very good taste of what to expect for launch, but many things are still a mystery, and it's also clear that a lot of feedback has been used to make substantial changes to the release game. One of those changes has to do with visibility and dark areas. The devs have apparently gone through their environments to adjust lighting so that the enemy players will be easier to read in most areas. Another thing that really surprised me, and I think the rest of the gaming community, was the announcement that all loot boxes would be removed from the game. This is massive news considering how integrated loot crates had become in previous titles. The community pushback on loot crates has been mounting, and a lot of bad press was being generated by Activision's overly aggressive attempts to monetize their seasonal content. Making new weapons available in random chance crates that force players to essentially play a lottery system to try and win the new guns was one of the many issues that pushed the community too far. And of course, it would be awesome to think that this was done for all the right reasons, but admittedly, there's the skeptic in me that thinks this might also have something to do with the fact that anti-loot crate legislation is literally being implemented or worked on in many countries around the world, including the United States. The similarities between random chance winnings and casino-like gambling were becoming apparent to lawmakers, and the widespread implementation of these potentially addictive practices definitely triggered government regulations. So there's a very good chance that this loot crate removal is a cover-your-butt tactic from Activision. Either way, it should be a win for gamers, being free from overly predatory microtransactions. So there's definitely some good news about changes being made to the game, but there's still a lot of things that I'm very curious about. One of the game modes that I was most surprised by was Gunfight, the relatively simple 2v2 competitive mode that switches weapons each round, offering variety and challenging players to get good with each weapon class. The tight competitive nature of this mode really felt awesome, but it didn't come without its problems. For one, there didn't seem to be any sort of ranking system, so with the vastly different skill levels coming into the game, often a 2v2 fight could feel very one-sided, which usually isn't fun for anyone involved. Sometimes the skill imbalance would be so severe that one of the players on the other team would just drop out due to frustration, leaving everyone in a 2v1 game that basically broke the mode. I've heard mostly unanimous feedback about this mode, praising its design but asking for some type of ladder system to allow for fun matchups and reducing quitting. Hopefully we can expect something like this down the road or at launch. Call of Duty's massive 64-player mode is possibly one of the most crazy modes the game offers. With kill streaks popping off left, right, and center, things could get very out of control. It sort of felt like a proto-Battlefield experience, like a concept mode completely void of balance, flow, and strategy. I've always knocked the Battlefield franchise for trying to shoehorn their game into modes that didn't really work out for it, and I felt the same when playing Ground War in Call of Duty. It's clear that many of the kill streaks and weapon balance was not designed around a large format mode. It does provide an interesting new experience for the lifelong Call of Duty players, but speaking as a Battlefield player, I was hoping for something with a little more balance and strategy. There was a lot of conflicting feedback surrounding this mode, so it's hard to say what the devs will change, if anything. There's also a few more maps designed for this mode that might change up the experience in a big way, so I'm very curious to see how that plays. Now, the normal core Call of Duty game mode felt quite familiar. Medium-sized maps, usually revolving around a 3-lane layout with some crossover pathways, allows for the usual flanking and consistent combat. Defensive and more campy play seemed to be a bit more powerful than it has been in previous COD titles, so pacing and playstyle had to be adjusted accordingly. Hopefully, the visibility changes can help reduce the camper's advantage here. Also, when it comes to things like audio, perhaps I'm a bit spoiled by some of the things in the Battlefield franchise, but I did feel like the positional audio in the game wasn't exactly that accurate. Also, knowing that on top of this, silent footstep features will be added into the game for full release, which might actually exacerbate that situation, it's not exactly exciting news to me. Less tools to be more strategic doesn't spell fun gameplay for me personally. I'm a little concerned that this might also lead to less interesting competitive class builds and really just less deviation to experiment with what works well and just a few classes that seem to be most powerful. Again, this comes down to game balance and what ultimately becomes the most powerful class traits, but hopefully there are interesting trade-offs to combat everyone just taking the same overpowered perks. Now, when it comes to basic game mechanics, there's a lingering Call of Duty stylistic choice that I don't really enjoy that much as a PC player. It feels like something that's designed to work better in the console realm, and that is the slow aiming down sight time used extensively to balance weapons. Extremely slow sight time with sniper rifles, LMGs, and even assault rifles is used to slow down reaction times in exchange for things like better recoil control and accuracy. Unfortunately, using this mechanic to me feels like gumming up the gears of an otherwise well-refined system. Like when watching competitive players snipe, they basically do all their aiming while hip firing and then take the shot before the scope has even reached the screen. This is also known as the quick scope. This mechanic exists mostly because of the incredibly slow ADS timing, and it's just not something I enjoy as a balanced mechanic. I don't think it's going away anytime soon, but I do think it's uncommon in PC gaming and a poor tool for balancing weapons. I'd be curious to see if the developers ever reconsidered using slow ADS as a balanced mechanic. Now, the real wild card here is the Battle Royale mode, slated for launch sometime after release. Rumors are that this mode will be completely free to play. Now, obviously, we have a very saturated Battle Royale market right now, and Call of Duty has already released their own Battle Royale experience with the Black Ops game. But even so, I think they realize that it's too difficult to compete in that market with a full retail price title, and so a free-to-play mode with realistic weapons and mechanics could be extremely interesting, something that maybe competes more on the lines of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Obviously, we know next to nothing about this mode, but it's exciting to think that it could be free to play and really shake up the current market of the Battle Royale craze. Now, the lead up to this game has been tons and tons of hype. But of course, Activision had to do at least something to piss people off, right? The exclusive PlayStation 4 mode is certainly a misstep in that regards. Who knows how much Sony paid for a timed exclusive mode to last a whole year, but since Call of Duty games typically have a year-long life cycle, it's practically a PS4 only feature. With crossplay being one of the most exciting new features with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, having one of the co-op modes only available on PS4 seems like a huge folly. Personally, I probably won't play too much of the co-op side of the game, if at all, but for those that do enjoy that aspect, it's just an annoyance. It does, however, sound like there will be plenty of things to do in co-op even without that exclusive mode. At the end of the day, I'm still quite excited for the final product of Modern Warfare, and I'm very curious to see what the developers change from beta to release. Will Ground War stay the same, or will there be significant changes, like removal of kill streaks or something? Will Gunfight get ranked play? Those are probably my two biggest interests so far. Let me know what you guys think. Are you more or less hyped since the beta, and what are you most interested in when the full game launches? As always, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.